Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game 2 of a best of 3 between Vitch and Pixy in the semi-finals of the first Steel Division 2 Championship. Today they are going to be playing on Haroshaje once again, and this time on the Soviet side we have Vitch using the Polish Home Army with the Maverick deployment type. And on the Axis side, Pixy is going to be using the 21st Panzer and the balanced deployment type. So they've changed factions, but they are currently on the same side of the map. So we have Pixy on the left once again, and Vitch on the right. Usually I'd always have the Soviets on the left, but just to make it less confusing, I've got the map from the same perspective this time around, since it's exactly the same map as the last game. Let's talk about these divisions anyway. So the Home Army is a really nice division, has an abundance of infantry, really strong infantry, especially the Ochotnicy, which come in with Molotovs, very strong 12-man infantry squads. They also have the captured German tanks. They get access to, I think, 3 Panthers and a Tiger, as well as a Hetzer and a Panzer IV. So they've got all of that to work with. Then they also have a fantastic air tab. So they've got an abundance of IL-2s with AT rockets, they get IL-2s with napalm, and they also have some strong fighters in the Mustangs. But on the side of the 21st, it's very much a support play style for Pixy. Limited amount of infantry availability throughout the game, so got to make up the value with use of strong armor like the King Tigers potentially, although I doubt we'll see many of them in this game. But mainly things like their artillery and support guns, so things like Brumbier in the support tab, and also the Rheinwerfer is really strong in the artillery tab, which is like a multiple mortar launcher, which is really strong. Can put down lots of smoke very quickly, can put down a lot of pinning HE power very quickly as well. So both of these divisions very strong. If we look at deployment types, Vitch is going for Maverick, so looking to win the game early in this case, not using it to counteract a Vanguard playstyle like he did in the last game. This time around, he's very much on the clock. He needs to win by about the 30-minute mark, otherwise the 21st Panzer is going to rip him apart in the late game, because having that disparity of 90 points per minute in Phase C is huge. So Pixy, if he can hold on to Phase C, he's going to be sitting pretty for the rest of the game. Let's have a look at what the players are putting down. So on the left side here, for Pixy, it's going to be 4 units of Ersatztruppen, 2 MG42s, and an Aufklärer in the 222, and that provides some 20mm autocannon fire there. There's one thing that I forgot to mention about the 21st as well. They get some great recon units in the form of like the SBW 231s and other awesome recon vehicles like the 250-10s that are great for transport sniping at the start. Anyway, 2 more M4s here. These are coming in at 2-star veterancy, interesting enough. Another Aufklärer in the 222. That's going to be 3 units of Flammenwerfers, 3 units of Panzergrams with Panzerfaust, and the 105mm off-map for Pixy. On this top side, that's going to be 3 units of Flammenwerfer, 2 Pioneers and half-tracks, SPW 233, MG42, and the Panzer S35S, which is interesting. Not often you see these used, generally because they have a limited amount of firepower. Either way, on the side of Vitch, on the top side we have Miotau Chochnia, which are the 2-man flamer squads, and there's going to be 2 units of Ochotnicy. We have the leader squad there, and the Haroshaje, which are the recon squad. Really sad that they're not coming in a Kubus, but there we go. Haroshaje, and then the AT gun there. This AT gun has both AP and HE shells, really strong, not only for sniping transports but also for hitting the targets afterwards. Great for also counter sniping things like enemy AT guns, which don't have HE themselves. On the side of the Axis though, generally Pak-40s will be able to defeat these, also things like IGs and stuff. Yeah, Haroshaje, great. They do have MP44s, good medium range squads. Further down, we do see 2 of these Piat squads. There's going to be one Ochotnicy and 2 Haroshaje. And then further down we see 2 more Piat squads, 3 Ochotnicy, leader and the AT gun. And then on the bottom side, going to be Piat squad, AT gun, 2 Grupish Domovi, leader, Ochotnicy, and the sniper actually coming in with a recon half-track. That's pretty cool. The sniper will be really useful here. It looks like he's going to be putting it into the church though, which honestly could be a bad idea. It's very tempting always to put units into these churches, but you don't really want units that fire to go in the church. So a unit like an Aufkladder would be perfect for a church because they have a range of 100 meters, so they never really reveal themselves whilst maintaining the great recon capability. Either way, let's pay attention to these initial engagements. Looks like Pixie's going to deploy short, so no engagement on the bottom side. In the middle, both players dropping very conservatively at the start, and this basically just shows how, like, them having played this map previously, because now they know exactly how far they can get away with pushing at the start. That turret stuck 222 is not ideal for Pixie. Gonna take away any effectiveness that 222 has, although it did manage to get a brief amount of damage onto that Piat squad. I think the Piat squad actually died, so decent kill there. 37 gonna be engaging the M4, gets the transmission damage. Gonna have a limited amount of penetration at this range though. There's only a matter of time until the M4 just kills that off if it continues that engagement. We do see Twat on the way already. This is the ace unit in the Polish Home Army. Captured Hetzer. Nothing happening elsewhere. Looks like Vitch is just going to move up the sniper to try and find enemy units, and also moving the recon half-track up as well. And the only advantage that's come in this map so far is to Vitch on this top side, where he's managed to push in with the Miotacho Ognia and the Ochotnicy onto this flag. But the 2 half-tracks there and the Pioneers engaging these in the open as they move forwards is not good news for Vitch. He needs to be very careful with these Flamer squads. Like, whilst they are very cheap, he doesn't want to allow himself to get overwhelmed by the opposing Flammenwerfers. And now he's kind of left himself in a position where he might end up being so. But ultimately, Ochotnicy really good against enemy Flammenwerfers because of the Molotovs. We do see that the sniper revealed itself. It shot at what looks like the Ersatztruppen. The Ersatztruppen returned fire and killed it. Do see the off-map coming in on the top side of the town. That's the 105mm off-map from the BEO UE 630 here. Now the Aufkladder going to be moving up, but oh no, that was killed by his own off-map. That is not good at all from Pixie. Little bit mistimed there. That is devastating. Either way, 4 units of Ochotnicy coming in for Vitch. And currently, Vitch is building up his infantry massively across the board. Well, that leader squad does not want to be in front, but it was trying to use its Faust Patron to kill off the 222. Ochotnicy take care of the 2-man Aufkladder, and that's going to blind the Panzer 35 and the 222, so they're not going to get any closer to that tree line for now. Twat's trying to get into position. This Ochotnicy in a very scary position actually for Pixie, because if Pixie tries to move forwards the Flammenwerfer, they're going to take a Molotov into the face, which he completely won't expect because those are behind enemy lines, technically. Like, he won't expect this infantry squad to be here at all. Either way, Ochotnicy engaging Flammenwerfer. The Flammenwerfers are usually taken out by Ochotnicy quite nicely, but here Ochotnicy not going to surrender because the leader's nearby. The 4 units, one of them's been unloaded early. The other 3 have managed to get quite close. The leader's going to give that Ochotnicy a chance to fall back. Meanwhile, in the town, we do see the Panzergren supported by the M4s trying to push forwards onto these Ochotnicy, but ultimately there's just so many squads here. The Haroshaje are coming in, and we have another Piat on the way. These are all going to be attempting to help out on this bottom side. These squads, these recon squads, they do have the HE, so you can see one here. We've got 3 HE grenades. They're pretty good at close range. Either way, you can see the Ochotnicy have eventually cleaned up the Flammenwerfer here quite well. There are in fact 15-man squads. I think I mentioned there were 12-man squads at the start, but yeah, I was wrong. Either way, this Ochotnicy is already broken through. With that Flammenwerfer going down in the way of the Ochotnicy there, that's gained a lot of ground for Vitch. The SBW 233 is trying to engage from the hill, which is a nice place for a unit like this with its HE ammunition. Like, these can be pretty good support weapons from range, but ultimately this Ochotnicy is already in position, and it's going to be really, really tough for Vitch to dislodge. Also, if it goes down to, I guess, the AT gun there. Anyway, these guys, they're looking to try and get their grenades on target. They did manage to drop one into there. That's going to be enough. The MP40 and Kar 98 is doing the job. It's completely quiet on the bottom side. Engagement still continuing on the top side as Pixy tries to clean up a lot of these Ochotnicy with the half-tracks and Panzer 35s. Like, these Molotovs can't kill vehicles very effectively at all, so Pixie's trying to take advantage of that. Interesting how he's brought in 2 snipers here with the half-tracks and unloaded them early. Might want to reload them into half-tracks, but either way, the engagement continues in the town. The recon trying to clean up the Panzergrenz, but the Panzergrenz have gone into cover. And I feel like this is a bit of a mistake that both players have been making. I guess it's because of the amount of units they're having to micro across the map, but ultimately there have been many, many times in this game and the last where players have not put their infantry into buildings or prioritized getting into buildings ASAP. Here it's fine because the Ochotnicy are going to instantly surrender those with a Molotov. But ultimately, like, you want to make sure that if you're in an extended infantry engagement that you do take up cover. Very, very important. Either way, Ochotnicy managing to get themselves on top of this flag is very, very nice. Makes it 14-10 for Vitch. Vitch is on a timer. He needs to win this before phase C, otherwise he's in trouble. Currently only 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the game so far though, so should be fine for now. Ochotnicy, double sniper. They can pin down units very, very quickly between them. Meanwhile, the half-tracks are actually moving up and harassing these pioneers, which is going to be really annoying for Pixie. He needs to get the 222 and the Panzer 35 there to clean up those half-tracks, otherwise they're just going to constantly be a pain. Twat's having a go at the MG42. That's going to manage to hide itself though. Ochotnicy cleaning up another unit of Panzergrenz. And one thing that Pixie can't afford to do here is just trade 1-for-1 with infantry, because eventually what's going to happen is Pixie's going to run out. So what I'd like to see is maybe a more investment into artillery, and that's generally what you do when you are, or when you have a large infantry disparity. So most of the time you see it on the Soviet side when they're up against units with MP44s, so like the Pioneers with MP44s, or like Sturmschützen and stuff like that. You don't want to engage them directly, so you pin them down first and then surrender them. And Pixie had the right idea with his off-map, but he needs something more persistent in order to continue to pin down these Ochotnicy and then find surrenders onto the units rather than just fighting with them with Ersatztruppen. Because 2 units of Ersatztruppen will probably still lose to a unit of Ochotnicy, and that's the biggest problem he's got here, is that infantry availability over time is just going to really just keep falling into favour of Vitch, and that is what Vitch is capitalising on. That's why Vitch is just constantly bringing in Ochotnicy, because he's not being RT'd, he's not being harassed in any other way, he's just being fought one-on-one by these squads. So even here, like the Pioneers losing one-on-one to Ochotnicy, and these Pioneers are quite valuable squads usually, and even if you do pin down the Ochotnicy with a grenade like we see here, they're still going to survive with quite a lot of men. And we do see a pack here engaging the 233. 233 does actually get the kill, which is not something I expected. I kind of expect those 233s to go down quite often. I'm not a massive fan of them. But either way, Ochotnicy again just going to be driving straight forwards. After and 222 and the Panzer 35. It's pretty rough. The Molotov will probably stop this 222 from being terribly effective just yet, but needs to be careful. Twat's having a go at the M4, does manage to take it out. These two Haroshaje are going to stop these Ersatztruppen putting pressure onto this flag, so it maintains the 14 to 10. But ultimately Vitch is going to be looking for 15 to 9, because then he can get the double tick going, which is really, really important. So this infantry is still stuck. I feel like there was a little bit of a lack of like AT brought in on this top side. We did see obviously the pack go down to the 233, and I think that was Vitch's attempt at getting something into the heavy forest that he could use to break down these vehicles, but that didn't pay off. Either way, very large presence in the town of Vitch right now, and nothing really for Pixy to pin stuff down. Like, I am very, very surprised not to see that Iron Werfer. It is such a good artillery weapon, not only for doing damage to infantry, but just for pinning things down and allowing your infantry to gain an advantage. At the moment, we're just seeing infantry traded 1 for 1, and it's just getting worse and worse across the board. AP shells here from this pack 38, having a go at the Panzer 35 on the hill. Another unit that I just did not expect to see from the 21st, but I guess they're reasonable value, 35 points apiece. But there's not really much that they're going to be used for in this particular engagement. He might have built this division to take on a different kind of deck, but in this case you're either up against really heavy armor in the form of these Tigers and Panthers, or you're up against infantry, and those Panzer 35s are not good against either. Oh, that off-map's going to get crew killed. Looks like that's a free kill for Vitch, although it probably used up all of its off-map strikes already. It's a shame we can't see where the off-map strikes are placed, otherwise we could pay more attention to them. We are, of course, watching this in the special viewer. That leader squad's in a bit of a precarious position, is going to get killed. The Haroshaje there getting killed as well. That's not going to stop this salient, though. Currently 15 to 9, and that's exactly what Vitch needs. He is putting pressure onto this flag. That's where he's finding the 15th, but the 222 killing off this Haroshaje should save the day for the time being. Now ultimately Pixy only has to hold on till phase C, and then he's very, very likely to win the game. So currently he's doing a reasonable job. There's still 20 minutes left until Vitch wins, since he's managed to take back this flag on the bottom side. Also just won back the infantry engagement on the top side, so pretty much cleaned up the incursion from Vitch up here. But ultimately still more infantry coming in, and now we see the Obso-Krajowcy being used, and these are really great squads. With the Feg 43M, M1 carbines and a machine gun, they're pretty much like Husserlock squads. Really, really nice, strong, sort of medium range infantry. So fantastic for town engagements. In this case, I feel like Vitch could improve his infantry micro to get more value out of his infantry, but he almost doesn't need to, just because he has so much infantry availability as the Polish Home Army. A lovely snipe there from the AT gun, kills an infantry squad before it unloads. Tiger's now here, which is going to be very, very tough for Pixy to deal with until he can get a King Tiger on the field. That's just going to be owning this town, especially against things like these Panzer 35s. And it looks like Pixie's also going to be dependent on Panzer 4s before any King Tiger. So, interesting stuff. We do see the MG go down there to the Haroshaje. These Haroshaje, I think, have got a lot of value on that top side. Have taken on multiple units of infantry. We see loads of these Obso-Krajowcy. These are really, really good infantry squads just for delaying things. But also, like, just like these Panzergrens, they can do a lot of damage with their MG42s for sure. But when you have the rifles just constantly firing, it's just going to whittle down these units. But once again here, this unit not in a building, now getting killed off. Panzergrens do actually manage to take out that AT gun. This Haroshaje behind enemy lines again. It's interesting how these Haroshaje keep ending up behind enemy lines. But we do see an off-map being brought in from Vitch, and that will certainly help deal with like maybe these Panzergrens. I reckon we'll see that off-map placed on this flag, or maybe on the in-between between these two flags, because basically what Vitch is trying to do here is dislodge enemy troops from the important flags and then place infantry on top of them to secure it for as long as he can. Currently back to 14 to 10. It did drop briefly to 13 to 11, but I'm not sure why. Either way, there comes the off-map as expected. Oh, that's a crew kill onto the Tiger though. That's nasty. One of the obstacles obviously got killed before it unloaded. Those Panzer though will get whittled down by that mid-range engagement, especially if more unload in the face of them. These ones not doing too well at the moment. I think more Haroshaje is necessary there. Now we're back to 14 to 10. We're seeing the infantry engagement on the top side here. It looks like what Pixie's going to try and do is absorb the Molotovs with the Ersatztruppen, which is pretty smart, and then run forwards with the Flammenwerfer afterwards to pin down the Haroshaje. But still, I'm seeing an infantry armor playstyle here and not a support playstyle from Pixie, and it's really worrying because he's just not going to be able to break down this infantry fast enough if he relies on tanks. And that's kind of what's happening right now. Just so much building up here in the center, and well, now there's going to be a big old push on the bottom side from these Gruppierstürmer. And these Gruppierstürmer, they will wreck Ersatztruppen at range because they do have MG42s. They're actually making quite a lot of ground as well. He's only going to just keep going past those. MP44 is in range from there as well. I do have 4 MP44s. That's interesting. He hasn't actually given them an unload order. They're just piling in from off the map. Right, the off map coming down again. More infantry being thrown onto those flags. It's currently 16 to 8. This Obso currently coming down to this flag. But the Gruppierstürmer now unloaded. Make short work of the MG42 squad. We'll bump into the Aufklärer, no doubt. Oh, that's going to be dead instantly. All those MP44s on target at that range. That is very nasty indeed. Haroshaje. There is, interestingly enough, this squad of leaders. They do have both AT and smoke grenades. They are going to smoke themselves off. Keeping the leaders alive is usually quite important, but in this case, ended up unloading those in the open. Again, I mentioned how Vitch has been lacking the use of cover, and that's just another example of that. When your opponent is playing like an infantry armor playstyle, you're only making it easy for them by not putting your infantry in buildings. Either way, the multiple units of Gruppierstürmer coming through here, annihilating any unit they come up against. And this is where I'd just love to see a Rheinwerfer. Like, just one volley from a Rheinwerfer would pin all of this stuff, and then just get a vehicle to drive on through. In this case, Pixie going to rely on the 105mm off map, but it looks like that's kind of hit the mark, or missed the mark, on the right side here. All these Gruppierstürmer just charging up. These guys have awesome camos, they really do. But that's going to be the flag secured on the bottom side. Alright, meanwhile, on the backside of this town, a build-up of armour, as these Panzer 35s and Panzer 4s keep coming in, has managed to maintain this flag, and also this flag now, with 1 Panzer Grenadier. That's pretty important. As long as he can keep things going till phase C, Pixie has a chance. And we are 19 minutes and 20 seconds in, so 80 seconds left until phase C. Panther G, 2 Panther Gs actually on the field now. You can see that he has turned off on the bottom here both the APCR shells and the HE shells from the Panther G. So he doesn't want his Panther G to engage any infantry, which is why he's turned off the HE. And he just wants the Panther G to get the aim time onto the Panzer 35. So basically, with the APCR and HE turned off, the turret will only ever face enemy armor, because it won't have anything to shoot at range with HE, for example. So if there was, say, like an AT or an infantry gun up on this ridge, it wouldn't turn the turret to fire at it because it can't. Either way, close range engagement, Panther G does the job. Right, off map has come down onto these Gruppettomovi. At this range, Panzergrens will do a fantastic job, especially considering these guys are pinned down and just forcing their way forwards. Ultimately, these should fall back. VulcanHDGaming coming up to reinforce. We do see an AT gun on the road. That could a bit snipe these pioneers if Pixie's not too careful. He does notice and does unload. That is going to give him a chance to maybe kill this 45mm AT gun. In the town, more VulcanHDGaming coming in and engaging the Panzergrens. Did the other Panther go down? There was definitely two here. Where's a big smoking wreck? Unless it moved. I'm not sure. Either way, we do still see the engagement on the bottom side. It's important that Pixie doesn't allow this AT gun to do too much damage, but currently that's firing at the pioneers in the open rather than at the transports, because I don't think it has quite line of sight to shoot down that road. It's not in the right position. These Gruppettomovi did eventually fall back, and now when they re-engage the Panzergrens, they will do a lot of damage now. And loads more infantry on the way. Currently still 15-9 for Vitch. Controls the centre flag once again. Getting some off-map down onto these Panzer Grenadiers. It's vital. Still controls the flag on the top side. He's got 3 Superzi squads here. These are double flamethrower squads. Very, very effective. Oh, there we go. The Panzer 35 going down. SPW 233 forces the Sabos to unload. They do have Panzer Shreks and they also have HE, so pretty strong squads. I think they're called like Sabotage City, something like that. That's how it's like actually pronounced. Oh, 17-7 now, as these recon vehicles really aren't cutting it. They don't affect the front line at all. It's causing this Panzergren to get surrounded and has given Vitch a lot of ground. Also Vitch contesting this flag with his Partizani. Meanwhile on the bottom side, yeah, the VulcanHDGaming still being in position here is bad news for Pixie, but going to be engaging the Pioneers now. The Pioneers not within the 100-meter range, so can't use their HE grenades. The VulcanHDGaming just outnumbering them, and also the VulcanHDGaming are in heavy cover here whilst the Pioneers are not. Makes a big difference to this infantry engagement. Now if the Pioneers came close anyway, a Molotov would just hit them in the face and that would be it. So tough position for Pixie there. Is himself on a timer. 3 minutes left until Vitch wins the game. Now we see some armour arriving on the bottom side. The T-34 coming in for Vitch. Going to clean up that half track and give him back the flag. And well, look at this severe lack of infantry in the centre. I mentioned how like trading infantry over time would just lead to Pixie being at a disadvantage, and we can see it severely in the centre. These Panzer 35s really just not cutting it against the heavy armour, heavy captured armour of the Polish. Even Chwat's just done fantastic cleaning up these Panzer 35s so far. And look at that huge salient coming in on the top side as the infantry that was engaging the Superzi got killed. The Panzergrens trying to get close to this flag, they're going to get killed instantly by the double flamethrower. And now, with 2 T-34s on this bottom side, it's going to make things very difficult for Panzergrens that don't have Panzerfaust and the Pioneers that only have HE grenades. I feel like Pixie is unfortunately in a extremely tough position when he should ultimately be starting to make a comeback. Panzer IV goes down there. Oh, lovely kills coming in from the good old Hitzer here. Is that another one? Gonna take out the 233. Misses that shot. Now engaging potentially the Panzer 35. Nope, going for another shot onto the 233. Got coming across from the Panther G. Or that poor tank. Oh no. Off map coming down again as well. Infantry just rushing on top of it. Oh, imagine if an off map shot landed on these Panzergrens right now. Currently 18-6, major defeat in 13 seconds. Oh, 19 flags at the end of the game for Vitch. He's just focused directly on each of the flags across the board, and because Pixy had so many recon vehicles on the map, a lot of them were taken very easily, and well, that's led to a victory in 25 minutes and 50 seconds, and I think that's ultimately just a fantastic use of the Maverick deployment type, flooding in infantry, forcing Pixy to play in a way that only makes Vitch's playstyle stronger, and Vitch took the victory. And just like that, he's won the best of 3, so that is it. He is through to the final. So congratulations to Vitch. Pixy, unfortunately not putting on quite the performance he did in the first game. I think in the first game he played very, very well, just got caught out by the availability of his own division, which was unfortunate for Pixy. But in this case, Vitch definitely just had the upper hand from the get-go with the Ochotnicy, like Panzergren engagements. Like, if you're going to trade into the Polish Home Army, it can't be with infantry. You've got to make sure you got those support weapons. Like, imagine some Brumbiars in that town. It would have been so nice for just like pinning those Ochotnicy squads, and the Ochotnicy squads would have been able to do nothing about it. Of course, there is Chwat, but there are ways to deal with that. You can pin that down with the Brumbiar because it's got quite decent front armor, but also, of course, you've got plenty of decent artillery in the form of the Rheinwerfer, and also I think they have access to decent rocket artillery as well. So I was surprised not to see that on the side of Pixy. It seemed like he had a very like brawling infantry armor play style going on with his 21st that didn't really suit fighting the Polish Home Army, because the Polish Home Army is like the ultimate infantry brawler. But there we go. That is it. We see the 37 getting a few half-track kills there. That's usually what you see from these 37 mils, but generally you want to look for like transport snipes with those. Ochotnicy, oh, look at the trades. 5 units of infantry for 1. And I mean, even just going 2 for 1 with these Ochotnicy is good enough. Chwat did really, really well throughout this game. Got the 2 M4s, got the Panzer 4G, took out 3 of those Panzer 35Ss, sorry. And yeah, just all of the infantry trading 2 for 1, or even 1 for 1 is fine. Like a Grupish Domovi for a Panzergren is perfectly fine. Of course, the Panther G can clean up plenty of light armor very, very easily, and it did indeed. And I think the only reason we really saw Panther G is because Pixy wasn't feeling the pressure that much. Otherwise, he could have just brought in more Ochotnicy and more Obso Krajowcy. So, but yeah, jump over to the losses. Yeah, I'm surprised to see the SBW 233 actually kill that Pack 50. These just don't do that much damage. I'm not a massive fan of them. The 231 just so much better, similar to the 222. Like the 20 mils, I always find value, whereas the 233, its accuracy is terrible, and it just still has that same problem as it did in Steel Division Normandy 44, where people only used to use it because it had exceptional recon, and now it doesn't. So it's just not worth having. Of course, Panzergrens can trade quite well if they're in the right positions to do so, but you can see all of this stuff is just trading 1 for 1 for the most part, and that's not what you want to see on the side of the 21st Panzer. So yeah, I think ultimately Vitch's pressure forced Pixy to play the way he wanted him to, and ultimately led to Vitch's swift victory. Much more decisive than the last game, but an awesome series between these two players. Commiserations to Pixy. I thought he played really, really well in this first game. This one kind of, I don't think his deck suited playing up against the home army. But that's it. That leaves us with a final between Froblord and Vitch. Love to see who comes out on top. That's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.